All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're tackling a massive and honestly kind of invisible problem in the world of global fraud. Now, we hear a ton about cyber attacks, phishing scams, digital heists, but we rarely hear about the hidden mechanics of how these criminals actually get away with the cash. Like, how do they take stolen digital funds and turn them into usable real world money without the authorities immediately kicking their doors down? Well, the answer lies in a totally silent, deeply embedded network that's operating right inside our everyday banking system.
So, really think about this for a second. How do cybercriminals safely cash out millions of dollars without getting caught? There is a massive operational gap between actually committing a cybercrime and being able to safely spend the profits. Fraud and scams generate absolutely staggering amounts of money. But the criminals themselves, they can't just move this cash around. If they do, they leave obvious, traceable links right back to their own doorsteps. They absolutely need a buffer. They need a reliable way to completely sever that digital trail. Section 1. The Bridge of Financial Crime. To figure out how criminals solve this massive headache, we've got to look at the invisible network that connects your everyday run-of-the-mill fraud to high-level money laundering. And it all starts with what's called a money mule. So what is that? Well, a money mule is just an individual who moves the proceeds of a crime on behalf of criminals, and they usually do it right through their own personal bank account. Europol calls it out directly as a type of money laundering. It's basically when a person gets money from a third party and then transfers it onward, whether that's in cash or through another digital method. The Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, totally backs this up in their 2025 review. They define it as a technique where a person moves criminal proceeds, but here's the real kicker: they sometimes do it completely unwittingly. The mule is that critical bridge. They take the hit of receiving the illicit funds first, creating immediate distance between the masterminds and the original crime.
Section 2. Who are the mules?
What's really wild here is that these mules aren't always the shady, hardened criminals you might picture. Actually, on paper, they often look exactly like you or me. To a bank system, a mule account just looks like an everyday customer going about their business. Criminals actively prey on regular people's vulnerabilities. We're talking about students, brand new bank customers, or folks who are just under a lot of financial stress. And they recruit them using incredibly deceptive tricks. They'll use social media, post totally fake job listings. I mean, you could literally swipe right on a dating app and, without even realizing it, get roped into laundering money through a romance scam. The criminals are just looking for a legitimate, innocent face to mask their illegitimate funds. Because they use these really sneaky tactics, you end up with a pretty stark contrast in who makes up this network. On one hand, you've got your witting mules. These are the complicit guys. They are fully aware they're helping criminals, and they're doing it to get a cut of the cash. But on the flip side, you have unwitting mules. These are completely ordinary people who have been totally deceived. They actually believe they're just processing payments for a legitimate new job, or maybe they think they're just doing a favor for someone they trust. The FCA makes a huge point of noting this distinction, and honestly, it completely changes how investigators have to approach these crimes. But look, here is the inescapable truth of the matter. Regardless of whether a person is witting or unwitting, the danger they pose to the financial system is exactly the same. The Financial Action Task Force, or FATF, points out a pretty grim reality. Criminals are recruiting these money mules across borders at an absolute industrial scale. And their main tool? Social media and messaging platforms. It's literally a global recruitment drive tapping into a practically bottomless pool of everyday people to keep their laundering networks running smoothly. Section 3. How the money moves. Okay, so operationally, how does a totally normal bank account actually do the heavy lifting in this illicit network? Let's track the rapid-fire journey of a stolen dollar. Step 1. A victim falls for a scam, and their payment lands directly in our Mule's account. Step 2. Those funds absolutely do not sit still. They are broken up almost instantly. And step 3, that fragmented money is scattered. It's quickly moved onward through wire transfers, maybe pulled out as cold hard cash at an ATM, or instantly converted into crypto. The name of the game here is speed and fragmentation. So, what is the fallout of all this chaotic movement? Well, by funneling the cash through a totally normal-looking account and then immediately scattering it to the wind, tracing and recovering that victim's money becomes an absolute nightmare for authorities. The chain of evidence is just deliberately shattered into pieces. What started as simple fraud has now become fully realized complex money laundering. Section 4. Detecting the invisible network. With cash flying around this fast, just waiting to investigate after a crime is reported, yeah, that's not going to cut it. By the time a victim realizes they've been scammed, the money is long gone.
So banks have had to completely shift their strategy. Traditional anti-money laundering usually focuses on looking at the money after the transaction is done. But since money mule risk is such a huge priority now, the FCA actually demands what they call a mule life cycle defense. Firms have to treat this as an issue that spans the entire time a customer is with the bank. That means intense scrutiny the very second an account is opened, running advanced analytics while the account is being used, and hyper-monitoring exactly when suspicious payments are received. To actually pull off this life cycle defense, financial institutions deploy behavioral analytics to hunt for some very specific red flags. They're on the lookout for accounts that are opened with weird or weak backstories, or activity that completely contradicts who the customer says they are. They immediately flag the rapid receipt and instant dispersal of funds we just talked about. They're watching for multiple, totally unrelated incoming payments, sudden crazy changes in how the account is being used, and ultimately any behavior that has absolutely zero obvious economic purpose. These flags are huge warning signs that a regular account is suddenly acting super erratically. But here's the thing, one single bank can only see its own little corner of the puzzle. The FCA emphasizes that a truly effective defense system requires way more than just internal checks. You have to combine those internal behavioral red flags with broad, industry-wide intelligence. Banks need to integrate fraud intel, tap into resources like the National Fraud Database, and actively share data with each other. Because these criminals, they're operating across a dozen different banks all at once, so the defense has to be just as integrated and collaborative to stand a chance. Let's bring all of this together. Ultimately, money mules are the absolute linchpin of the financial crime world. They are the go-to method for criminals to move their profits while keeping their own identities totally hidden. Mules are what allow raw, messy fraud to transform into clean, untraceable laundering. But honestly, the most chilling part of all of this, it's how they silently hijack ordinary customer accounts and turn them into temporary criminal infrastructure. They're literally weaponizing the everyday banking system that you and I rely on. Which brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought to leave you with. Knowing just how easily these syndicates recruit unwitting people, using slick social media posts, fake job offers that seem just a little too good to be true, or even seemingly real online relationships, it leaves us with one vital question to ask ourselves. Could your account, or maybe the account of someone you love, be manipulated into becoming temporary criminal infrastructure? It's a really stark reminder that in our modern digital economy, staying vigilant isn't just about protecting your own wallet. It's about making sure your digital footprint isn't being used to destroy someone else's.